Hello and welcome to the biggest exclusive tonight. The mystery over the death of BJP leader Sonali Phogat is deepening by the day. Now, in a brand new twist to this entire sordid saga, her close aide and somebody who's been working with her for the last 4 or 5 years, Sawant, who's been arrested by the Goa police, he has accepted that he was the one who gave MDMA drugs in a liquid form to Sonali, and he was the one who forced her to consume it, which of course eventually led to her life. CNN News 18 has managed to exclusively access the case files pertaining to Sonali Phogat's death. We'll be bringing you those case files in just a bit. But first, the details, the sordid details of how a once promising Tik Tok star who eventually went on to become a BJP leader, how her life was terribly and tragically cut short. Now, CNN News 18 is extensively tracking the probe in the murder of BJP leader and actor Sonali Phogat. CNN News 18 has accessed a 15-page dossier which gives out details of the investigation by the Goa police so far. Sonali Phogat's personal assistant, close associate, somebody who had been working with her for the last many years, Sawant, has reportedly spilled the beans on the drug angle. He has said that Sonali and Sukhwinder, who were there at that Curly's club on the fatal night when Sonali's life got taken away from her, they consumed MDMA, which is a banned psychotropic substance. They consumed that at the hotel, and all of them carried the MDMA to the Curly's pub and bar, where they consumed it there as well. Sudhir has also revealed that Sonali Phogat had a drug overdose and she vomited a lot. Remember, there is about a 2 to 3 hour period where there is no CCTV footage available either from the hotel or from this Curly's pub. This investigation dossier also states that Curly's Beach Shack, the owner, who's now in custody of the Goa police, he knowingly allowed narcotic activities to happen at his premises. Remember, this is the same shack where 10 or 12 years ago, Scarlett Keeling, a young British girl, was also found dead. In fact, her mother waged a valiant battle to get to the truth of how her daughter died. Unfortunately, that premises was fully functional. It was back in business, and the owner now has been taken into custody. So what exactly is mentioned in this case file? Goa police sources have told CNN News 18 that Sudhir Sangwan was the one who procured the MDMA. They had procured it in multiple batches. The first one was worth 12,000 rupees. He had in fact procured that through a hotel boy in the hotel that they were staying in Goa. He also reportedly went on to say that Sonali, Sudhir and Sukhwinder, all three of them, consumed the MDMA in the hotel where they were staying in Goa. Sudhir was the one who then went on and carried the remaining cachet of drugs that they had. He was the one who carried the remaining MDMA to the Curly's Beach Shack. All three of them, that's Sudhir, Sukhwinder and Sonali, consumed the drugs again in Curly's Beach Shack, which is of course a public restaurant cum pub. Then he goes on to say that after consuming the drugs there at Curly's, Sonali started feeling uneasy. She started vomiting multiple times, and it was apparent to them at that time that this was becoming a case of drug overdose. What he also went on to say that he left one of the packets of MDMA inside the flush tank at Curly's, inside the ladies' toilet in Curly's. Remember, this was recovered by the Goa police, and it's basis that the owner of this particular shack was also taken into custody. But there is one thing that is missing so far, and let's get that breaking news going in as well. This is the Sonali Case Files exclusive. There is now heat on the owner of this beach shack, the shack called Curly's, which is a very popular destination amongst young party goers, particularly in North Goa in the Haryana beach. report mentions that the management of Curly's Beach Shack knowingly permitted the use of drugs in their premises. Narcotic activities were happening in the Curly's Beach Shack. Most recently, just a few days ago, when this Sonali Phogat case came to light, you can see that CCTV footage. And mind you, Edwin Nunez, who is reportedly the owner of this beach shack, has also been taken into custody. The question, though, is this is an infamous place. Scarlett Keeling, of course, was linked to this particular beach shack as well. In fact, her mother had alleged that Scarlett Keeling's body was found from very close to the Curly shack, and she had last visited that particular beach shack. Let me go across to Anshul, who has more details from Panaji. Anshul, how exactly did this function? Because clearly this was a destination that had been in the news for all the wrong reasons even 10 or 12 years ago. So how was it allowed to function in a way that it tragically has led to the death of another young woman?
So this is a big nexus, even Zaga, as you rightly mentioned, 2008, when that British girl was found dead on the beach, on the Arjuna beach, which is approximately a kilometer away from the Curly's beach. It was then also revealed that how there was a big nexus of not only administrators but also these such pub owners and the politicians as well. That at that time the son of Home Minister was also incriminated in this case, and that is the same thing that has happened over here now. Edwin, who has been arrested by the Goa police, he is being said to have very close contacts with the power circles in Goa, and that is the reason why he's being allowed to carry out with such nefarious activities in his pub. And not only his pub, but in North Goa, the area around his pub, two, three more pubs around that area, they also are infamous for such kind of rave parties that happen day in and day out. And also it is a very open secret in Goa that yes, if people are going to North Goa, and especially in these pubs, they are going to they're going to have a party over there and probably going to take drugs. That is a very open secret over here in Goa, and that is the reason why we saw that when Edwin was arrested, and in that interrogation that happened of Edwin, he said he actually agreed to the fact that he knew that there were drugs being peddled and consumed in his bar, in his pub, and he knowingly allowed that. So yes, big revelations coming in from this case file that we have managed to access, Zaka, and that is the reason why Goa police, to complete the entire investigation, is going to travel to Haryana. A team of at least 6 to 7 members of the Goa police will be traveling to Haryana tomorrow, where they will be meeting with the family of Sonali Phogat and will try to establish an exact timeline as to when did she leave, what did she tell at her home, because there are different stories coming up from different members of the family of Sonali Phogat. Yeah. Initially, the family members said that she went to Chandigarh and they do not have any idea how she reached Goa. So to fill these entire gaps in this investigation, the Goa police will be traveling to Haryana. Also, a report of the entire investigation that has been done till now, that report will also be sent by the Goa DGP and to the Goa CM, and from Goa CM that report will be sent to the Haryana DGP and the Haryana CM. And after that, if the Haryana CM feels that there is a need of a CBI probe in this entire case, because various police are now involved in this, the Haryana police is also involved in this, the Goa police is also involved in this. So if the Haryana CM feels that there is a need for a CBI probe in this entire matter, then the Goa Chief Minister has said that he would then recommend a probe into this. But as of now, the Goa police seems to be on the back foot as of now, because in the FIR they had mentioned section 302, which means that attempt to murder or murder had happened. But yes, by the clues that have come to the fore by the investigation that is going on, it is going to be very difficult for them to establish that the amount of drugs that was given to Sonali Phogat was intentional actually, because the statements that have come to the fore actually say that the amount of drugs that were given were probably out of accident, and they did not know as to how much drugs needed to be consumed for that party. And that is the reason why it is getting tough for the Goa police to prove the entire situation now.
We'll leave it at that, Anshul. Thanks for joining us and bringing that piece of investigation as to how Sonali Phogat, a TikTok star, then became a neta, very popular on social media. How she must have been in her 30s, maybe early 40s. How her life was cut short, and that too because of drug overdose. Let me go across to Ranveer Sharma, former IPS officer, is joining us. Rajiv Bhaskar is a senior journalist as well. Ranveer Sharma, the question, I think it was the family that initially raised the first finger of suspicion. if these three people, Sudhir, Sukhwinder, and Sonali, all three of them went to the same hotel, they stayed in the same hotel, they went to the same beach shack for a party, and reportedly from Sudhir's statement to the Goa police, all of them consumed or took part or part with the same drugs, then how is it that Sukhwinder and Sudhir seem to be fine? At least they're not dead, but Sonali got consumed by drug overdose. This is the first question that the family is raising.
This is a great conspiracy now for murder because these people had already planned Sukhwinder as well as Sangwan because there was no program of the Goa. Earlier the program was only for the Chandigarh, and immediately they have changed the program for Goa, and from this conspiracy they have done with this DMD drugs, and this hotel was very badnaam for the drug peddlers and for the drug facilities which were already available in the hotel. That is why they have gone to this hotel where they must have mixed up this nexus of the administration as well as the local peoples. Okay. And the young peoples are enjoying their drugs, and this is a great failure of the administrations, and these people have planned a conspiracy to murder this lady in that very hotel only while giving the big dose, I mean the heavy dose of the DMD.
Rajiv Bhaskar, how easy or difficult would it be for the police to prove that this was intentionally done with the intention of culpable homicide, to kill or to eliminate Sonali Phogat? Because at the end of the day, as per the statement that has been given by Sudhir to the Goa police, Rajiv Bhaskar, he says that all of them consumed the drugs. It was never their intention, or they never thought that it would land up in a case of overdose. So how easy or difficult would that be to prove in a court of law?
Yeah, initially, it was declared that it was heart attack, which was the cause of the heart attack. But later on, the mystery unfolded, and still it is not unfolded to that extent that, what was the motive behind that murder or any kind of, if it was overdose, whether it was intentional or unintentional.
Yes.
Still, Haryana police's, family of Sonali Phogat requested for the CBI probe, and decision on that is still to be taken. But Goa police assured the Haryana police that we are going into the right direction. Whether it is in the right direction or not, it is still to be concluded. But yes, the people of Haryana as well as of Punjab, they are waiting for the mystery to be unfolded. And when it will be unfolded, what was the motive of the murder? If it was murder, that is still to be decided.
No, so Ranveer Sharma, Sudhir Sangwan was somebody that was known to Sonali Phogat. He was a personal assistant, a manager, a close associate. Some even said that they even had a personal relationship. For such a person, what would the motive be? As Rajiv Bhaskar was saying, every murder, assuming that this is a murder, every murder has a motive. What in Sudhir Sangwan's case would be that possible motive? Because ultimately she was the star. She was the one who was bringing in the money, the fame and everything. Why would he want her out of his life?
There are 2-3 doubts we can gain. Otherwise, so this is the duty of the Goa police. By that time, they would have decided, or they would have find out in the investigation what was the motive behind it. But so far, my experience is concerned, the first motive of the Sangwan, because he belongs to a very good family. There was no need of doing the job of a personal assistant, which he was doing earlier, which was not up to his status. And secondly, there was a motive either to grab his property. Number one, property. I think the property is the basic reason, because she has she is a celebrity, and crore of the rupees must be having, and he is knowing all the in and out of the lady, because that is why he has in the farm also he made a theft of the items, laptop and etc. Okay. The case is also registered of the theft there in the Hisar district in Haryana only. And the third, which I can say, there was some disputes among the friendship also. Mm-hmm. She must be knowing some reasons. He must be knowing some secret of the Sangwan, or Sangwan may be knowing her secret. And thirdly, it can be a politically also. I cannot deny about this. This can be a political reason also, because she was in a celebrity and she was selected for the Adampur constituency in the last election year, and now the election was going on again because of the resignations of Mr. Bhajanlal's son, Bishnoi. And there can be some other reasons, because it has to be found out. Now, the confession
Okay.
statement of
Rajiv Bhaskar, is the family, at least at this stage, are they alleging any kind of political motivations or political imputation to Sonali Phogat's death? Because so far, I've not heard or I've not come across. So far, the finger of suspicion seems to be on Sudhir and Sukhwinder. But any political motives being ascribed to her, to her unfortunate death, at least from the family side, just yet? Rajiv Bhaskar?
Yeah, yeah. The family is alleging that, earlier she went to Chandigarh and how she went to Goa from Chandigarh. They don't know. And the brother of Sonali, he has already alleged that Sudhir and Sukhwinder, they were the key accused. However, the motive is yet to be ascertained, because brother also did not reveal what can be the motive. So on that line, it is still, there is so much vacuum in the investigation that motive is so far has not come forward. This is all we are waiting for.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. I want to thank Rajiv Bhaskar and Ranveer Sharma for joining us. We'll see how this story plays out, because clearly there's a lot of interest, not least because of her celebrity status. She was very popular on social media. She was also very young. It's not an age to die. And the fact that it happened in mysterious circumstances, and now these chilling revelations are coming to the fore, whether it's through the nabbing of the other accused, whether it is through the nabbing of the owner of this particular pub. One thing is very clear: this beach shack has a notorious reputation. How it was allowed to function all these years, despite multiple such mysterious cases landing up there and connections being drawn up to this particular beach shack, that is something that is a matter of great intrigue. But let's move on to another story, which is also equally a matter of great intrigue, and this is in the state of Karnataka. Karnataka Matsya Shri Shivamurti Muruga Sharanaru, who was released after questioning by the police. This comes after the Mysore police registered a case under the POCSO Act, the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse, against him, as well as 4 others, in connection with allegations that were made by 2 minor girls that they were sexually harassed by this seer for a number of years at his mutt in Chitradurga. The seer, although has claimed innocence, he addressed the media right after his quizzing by the police. He claimed that this was a big conspiracy against him, and he has said that the truth will be revealed soon. So what exactly is the truth of Shivamurti Muruga? We will take this to our guests in just a bit, but first the story so far.
The prominent Lingayat mutt in Karnataka is under scanner for sexual assault on minors. 2 minor girls have now alleged Shivamurti has sexually assaulted them for over 3.5 years.
All right, Priya Chetty Rajgopal is a citizen of Mysore and a citizens activist. Also, Suman C. Raman, political analyst, joining us. Priya, let me start with you first. The allegations first came to light over the weekend, where I believe that at least 2 minor girls, through their parents, approached an NGO, and it was the NGO which went and then lodged this complaint against Mr. Sharanaru. The question that's being asked is, how was this allowed to go for so long? In one case, I believe it went on for over 3 years. In the other case, for over a year. How did this happen? And that too inside the mutt, where there are other people, other individuals. How was this allowed to happen for such a long time?
It's obviously a terrible thing that has happened, and I think there is additional, disgust, shame, fear, anger, outrage when it happens to somebody who's supposed to be a seer of a mutt or a holy person. I would obviously just, preempt that by saying alleged, because as of now, I think the case is under investigation, so we don't know. But being that as it may, whether it is correct or not, the fact is more and more cases like this are coming to light. And this is almost like par for the course. It's every single large institution or this kind of godman cult seems to generate this kind of activity or this kind of misuse of power. So 3 or 4 things that come to my mind is I'm glad that somebody has stepped up and confronted this and filed a case, because you can imagine it must have been, if it is indeed proved true, it must have been going on for quite some time, before these young women have stepped up. The few points that I would like to mention is, there's additional responsibility when someone is in a position of power, whether religion, political, or academic, to be especially careful about their stance and about, influencing very young minds and their psyche like this. I mean, it's complete abuse of power. The position of influence cannot be misused like this, and this is a very cliched thing to say, but it needs to be said. Religion and sexual exploitation seems to be going hand in hand for such a long time. I'm surprised it's not more under the scanner from a preventive point of view.
Okay.
I think now, and I do not want to get prescriptive, but I think we really need to have better controls and monitoring of, institutions which are either led by religious or political figures, where there's a large amount of corpus. There is a genuine attempt to focus on education or improvement or whatever, but very easily exploitable young children are there for need special attention to make sure that doesn't happen again.
So Sumansi Raman, one thing that I think Priya has a great point. Something needs to be said or done about the fact that we are seeing this increasingly happen in religious places, places of worship, places of cult of god, men or women. We've seen what happened in the Nityananda case, in the Asaram Bapu case, even for that matter in the Franco Mulakil case. How is it that under the guise of religion, these kinds of things are going on, and that too for such a long period of time? Is it that there's nobody for oversight there? Is it that these people are above the law? Surely that can't be the case.
Zaka, I don't think that such incidents are of recent origin. They probably have been happening from time immemorial. It is good in a way that more cases are coming out because it allows us to sort of address this issue and try to take preventive action. So I don't think that, whoever these quote unquote godmen are, not referring to this particular case because it's still under investigation, but whichever cases, whenever such cases come up, I don't think that this is a recent phenomena. The fact that more and more people who are actually having the courage to speak up now is a good thing. And very importantly, I think we also need to consider that the environment that we create is, every time these cases come out, there is a little bit of outrage for a few days, and then we move on to the next story. Correct. And until the next case comes out. So no corrective steps which are, preventive are actually being launched. So every year or 2 years, there is some outrage and then we go back to business as usual. So in this particular case, one only hopes that there will be a fair investigation. And that is, the concern is because this is an influential mutt. It comes under a particular community that has tremendous clout in Karnataka to influence electoral politics. And therefore, one has to, even you saw even the chief minister was extremely cautious in his statement today, where he sort of said, investigation is going on, I don't want to say anything, and so on. And the opposition, in fact, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar actually came out, more or less in support of the Swamiji. So I think that we need to be concerned whether the investigation would be a fair investigation. But one certainly hopes that it would be fair because, abuse of children has to be beyond politics, beyond any kind of
it has to be unacceptable in a civilized society. And I think I want to take that point again with Priya. What is ironic, and maybe it's time to the elections, I don't know, but it's ironic that none of the mainstream parties, the three main parties in Karnataka, whether it's BJP, Congress, or even JDS for that matter, have come and outright supported the victims here. You would imagine that in such a case, and yes, the allegations are yet to be proved, but in such a case, because of just the shocking nature of what we are hearing, that any political party would want to be seen with the side of the victims unabashedly. But none of them have taken a position, whether it's in BJP, Congress. In fact, some politicians have actually come forth and even given a clean chit to this gentleman.
Yes, I think this has been, again, a motive that keeps happening because this is a huge vote bank. This is a huge position of influence. So this does tend to happen, and it disappoints me, but it doesn't surprise me. And as I said, all of these are still allegations. And please note, there are two things that are an interesting developments, which is now there's a counter complaint against the administration officer, which is, I think, Mr. Basavarajan or Dr. Basavarajan, who is supposed to have instigated this complaint against the seer. So you can see it's already started going back and forth in a slightly more dramatic way to take away the focus on the real issue, etc. So this is the sad thing. Somewhere we're going to forget children, and I'm sure that these are not the only people. Few things that I do want to be able to say that yes, I think it's sad that the government has not come or is so cautious about it, but maybe for good reason. As you said, it's still alleged. So, but the focus on supporting the victims, or to be able to say, hey, listen, this is unacceptable. We are investigating, but let us give all support to these children, and it's not been done. But I have three things that I do want. What all of these are primarily pushed very much because there's a very strong funding. There's a corpus. So there's a lot at stake here. There are people who want to be there. There are people who have a lot of power because there's money and there's stuff that needs to be, spent. So that is one. The second thing is in terms of better controls and monitoring of educational institutions and hostels like this. I mean, we have seen some terrible cases. I mean, these are not even in any way, acceptable, imaginable. So you need yearly audits. And I think you need to have that under a slightly, combination of a structured and unstructured system.
Okay, because Sawant, I'll give you the final word. I've got 1 minute to wrap up.
Zaka, there is another, perhaps it's a coincidence, but Rahul Gandhi visited this mutt in the first week of August, I think August 7th, thereabouts, and was given Diksha and sort of initiated into the sect, by the very same Swamiji. And now you have Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, rushing out to give more or less a clean chit. So I mean, this could be just, this is just speculative thinking, but the fact that this also happened adds a political a dimension of political, conspiracy into this whole incident.
Political or otherwise, my limited point is that you can't have mainstream political parties not side with a victim, and that too in this case when victims happen to be minors. Let the investigation proceed. Nobody wants to carry out some kind of a crucifixion campaign, but ultimately these have to be proved or disproved in a court of law. But it's clear that things like, sexual abuse against children, girl children, should be absolutely unacceptable in any civilized society. I think that is a red line that we cannot afford to cross. We'll leave it at that. Thanks very much, Priya and Sumant. With that, it's a wrap. My colleague Anusha joining you with Plain Speak.